was another busy week for Purdue basketball and another busy week on the horizon. The Boilermaker men's team beat Iowa on Tuesday night 90-81. That was in Iowa City. Braden Smith had 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in that game. Trey Kaufman-Renn, 25 points and 7 rebounds, and Caleb First had 10 points and 9 rebounds. Boilermakers followed that with a 90-72 win over USC. On Friday night, again, Trey led the way with 24 points and 10 rebounds. Fletcher Lawyer had 14 points. Braden Smith added 9 points and 13 assists. And Caleb First had 9 points and 10 rebounds. The win for Caleb First was his 111th as a Boilermaker, and that is the all-time record for Purdue men's basketball. So congratulations to Caleb First and many more to come. Trey Kaufman-Renn today was named the Big Ten Men's Basketball Player of the Week for the 3rd time this season. He is the first player in the conference to get that honor. He is the only player in the country right now averaging at least 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists, and shooting 60% from the field. So congratulations again to Trey for another great week. The Boilermakers have their hands full tomorrow night. They will be taking on the 20th-ranked Michigan Wolverines in Ann Arbor. Purdue spanked Michigan 91-64 back in January. So you know the Wolverines will be looking for revenge tomorrow night. Rob Blackman and Bobby Riddell are on their way, as is the rest of the coaching staff and the players to that one. It'll be a tip-off at 7 o'clock with the pregame show at 6. And the Boilermakers next will be at home on Saturday, taking on the Wisconsin Badgers. That one will be a 1 o'clock tip-off. Finally, the Purdue men stayed at number 7 this week in the AP and the coaches' polls. We're going to concentrate on the women's side tonight. The Boilermakers with just one game this week. They fell yesterday to Rutgers 78-69. 8 players available. We're going to talk about that with Katie Geralds and see if we can get rid of the illness and injuries that have plagued this basketball team, because they've got a lot of action this week, taking on Northwestern on Wednesday night at Mackey, and then Saturday traveling down to Indiana to take on the Hoosiers. Good evening, everybody. From Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, it is Purdue Basketball Live. We're going to be talking with head coach Katie Geralds. Also, Amie Anthrop, who is the director of operations for the women's program, will be with us. You can follow along tonight on the Purdue Athletics site on Facebook, X, and YouTube. And we'll have the coach with us right after this. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. And this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
For the Scarlet Knights, and they've hit a couple of big threes.
Now Rutgers with the ball out of the timeout, but throws it away, and Rashunda Jones can turn it into 3 points. That's a big momentum flip.
Money can stroke it from deep sometimes, and right there, got a good look. Love the confidence from her to shoot that and hit it.
Rutgers' first points to the second quarter. Jones, great feed underneath to McCarthy. Having a nice spell as well. You mentioned the big performance she had at Michigan. Good few weeks to be JoJo Lacey. And a good time to be Rashunda Jones, too. She gets the bounce plus the foul. Lombard off the pump fake. There's Bass again on the glass. Plus the foul.
Really seeing this game as an opportunity, and really this whole final stretch. Play Northwestern, play Penn State, play some other teams on the outside looking in, but Purdue not going away with Sophia Swanson. That's a smooth turnaround, Jay. Second to UCLA in the conference in that category.
Thrown away, and Swanson's getting hot. Could have been a charge or a block, truly. And now Lacey has it poked away. Lombard ahead of the pack. Back inside, there's Jones slashing to the rim.
Poor mistake there, and now the defense has to lock it down.
Puryear against Adams, no call. Puryear will give to Jones. Collier, her first points today.
And whenever Rutgers needs a bucket, when Purdue pulls closer, Lacey has given it to him.
Collier, red hot. Back-to-back threes for the senior. Purdue has shown a lot of fight in this game.
Cornwell's going right to the locker room.
Another turnover. Swanson, 2-on-1, lays it in.
3 steals for the Scarlet Knights, and they've hit a couple of big threes.
Now Rutgers with the ball out of the timeout, but throws it away, and Rashunda Jones.
Welcome back to Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO. We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of Purdue Basketball Live and proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors, boiler up. We're joined by Katie Geralds. And Katie, it was a tough week. We thought at this time last week, coming off a win, you're going to get a nice week of rest, and everybody's going to be ready to go. And then all of a sudden, everybody on the team decides they're going to get sick at the same time.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate, really. So what happened first? Thursday or Friday? It starts with Spider, trickles down to Soph. We fly out there. We actually get those 2 IVs. Des started feeling a little bit uneasy. Got those 2 IVs when we got there on Saturday. And then Saturday night, Kenna basically slept on the floor of her bathroom and woke up with fever. Couldn't even leave the hotel room. Obviously someone who wants to be there for her team and couldn't. So that put us down to 8 players, and a slow start for us. 17-10 at the end of the first quarter, and we got good looks, and for whatever reason they didn't go down, and stayed with it pretty much until about 2:20 of the second quarter. It was an 8-point game, and just thought if we could get it to halftime, because KP and Lana were in foul trouble, thought if we could get it to halftime under 10, but they had pushed it to 14. Came out, we get down by 16, have a chance to take the lead, and on a steal from Soph, and the ball probably goes around the rim about 4 times on a layup, and just was a 1-point game. We come down, we foul a 3-point shooter, and it was kind of just a domino effect. We just didn't have enough left in the tank.
Katie, we've talked this season about the fact that your team has held together through a rough time, and I think it was exemplified by the fact that you had kids that were willing to put it on the line set. I mean, the fact that you've got to take IVs one day and go out and play, and in Rashonda Jones' case, play 39 minutes yesterday, tells that those kids are still fighting.
No doubt, and never even a question from the 8 that were in uniform. As they played as hard as they possibly could, and just ran out of gas, and you could see it in their legs and when they were shooting, and in timeouts we've got buckets in front of us. At one time I tried to lean away. I thought I was gonna take a hit there on one timeout, but they gave us everything we had, and unfortunately it just wasn't enough. I'm not someone who complains a whole bunch about officials, but I thought we got the raw end of a couple deals, and unfortunately the ball just didn't go in enough for us.
Well, I did mention the arena there at Piscataway is about 30 minutes by car from downtown New York City, from Manhattan and from Broadway, and I thought there were some acting jobs yesterday on some flops that were Tony worthy. On the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, I'm not so sure why a flopping warning was never called, or I asked multiple times about it. Sent in a bunch of clips, and we got the answers that we thought were the right answers today, but it doesn't help us in hindsight.
No, Joe Tiller always used to talk about those Monday calls. He said in one way it makes you feel good, and another way it doesn't needle at all. Yeah,
the hard thing for us to swallow, as a group, is our kids laid everything on the line. They gave us everything they had, and for a couple of things to not go our way that were out of our control was kind of disheartening a little bit.
Now, Rutgers was down a player yesterday. Their leading scorer, Keoming McMiller, was out, and that meant that more Destiny Adams, which was not necessarily a good thing, but also then it gives another person an opportunity to step up, and they had 2. JoJo Lacey had a big game for them. As did Maya Petticord. Those 2, I think, combined for 38 points. Yeah,
tough. JoJo's was a tough matchup for us, a 6'3" guard, and she got it going. It's kind of one of those double-edged swords, where McMiller can probably get it going for him, but because her high-volume shooting, those other kids don't get those shots most often. And when you wrapped your whole game plan around trying to slow one player down, and 3 hours before the game, we're scrambling, trying to figure out, try to get everybody up to speed on what they're going to do without her. But I, got to give credit to Rutgers. They stepped up, and JoJo and Maya, they came in and made shots, like long 2-point shots off the bounce. They hit some tough shots, and you give those kids credits. I think that they were on a mission to prove to everyone that they were a team, and it wasn't just McMiller's show, and they stepped up, and I would love to play those guys with all healthy bodies, though.
You have a decision to make when you play a team like that with a talented player inside, because Destiny Adams can play all over the place. China Cornwell is one of the best offensive rebounders in the Big Ten. They're a team that had been shooting 29% from three-point range. So what are you going to do? You're going to try and collapse inside, and all of a sudden they start hitting shots.
Yeah, I thought we started in zone, little boxing one on Adams, trying to get other people to make some shots, and Petticourt comes in and hits a deep three. We lose JoJo a couple times, and she gets it going. And so second half, we're scrambling to play man because they'd seen the ball go through the basket, and we missed a couple looks in transition where we didn't get matched up on the right players. And whether that's, lack of communication or just mentally fatigue from us, or, different lineups that we hadn't really seen because of the sickness. I know we said it, Spider played 39 minutes. At one time she had asked me, like, I need a sub, and I was like, I can't take you out, like, and she fought through it, and I couldn't be more proud of it. Just thankful that she is on our team.
All right, talking with Katie Geralds. More with the coach after this. It's Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
As hard as you can with the same amount of joy and passion we had the other day, all right? These people are going to watch you. Put on the show and enjoy every single second of it, all right? Let's go.
McCarthy with doing there. Sophie Swanson drilling a 15-footer from the left side. Swanson, and here come the Boilermakers into the front court. Purdue with a 5-point lead. Swanson, quick three, yes! Sophie in transition with the triple.
We've got to have a little bit more composure about what we're doing. Get the ball moving from side to side, and then you get open shots. We've got to be there for each other. Come on.
Here we go, guys. First 5 minutes.
Here we go. 20 minutes. Go get it.
Back to Ella Collier for three. Got it! Furrier still with the dribble. Furrier jump hook on the way. Got it!
Furrier is not intimidated by Sarah Williams.
Pass in the post against McRae. Pass goes up with a left-hand runner and scores. Misses the layup attempt. Rashonda Jones with the rebound. Purdue's got to try to run it here. Jones down the middle, almost lost the dribble. Right side, Collier for three. Got it! Ella Collier with the big triple.
That's why she was brought here.
Collier open three up. Yes!
Oh,
Ella Collier with the triple. Here's Collier driving. Nice pocket pass to Furrier, and she made the layup. And one.
What a great pass by Collier.
And that will do it. And the Purdue Boilermakers have snapped the 9-game losing streak, and they beat the Wisconsin Badgers 84-71.
Talk about it, right? Just staying through it, right? Looking adversity in the eye, staring straight at it, not running away from it, not hiding from it, but running right towards it. And you've earned it, right? Like you played well on Thursday. You played well today. You stayed connected. You stayed together. When they cut it to one, and you were right there with it the whole time. Enjoy it. You've earned it. Enjoy it. You've earned it. I'm proud of you.
Good job, Wyatt. We're gonna stick together, y'all.
Family on three. 1, 2, 3.
Family.
Play as hard as you can with the same amount of joy and passion we had the other day, all right?
Welcome back. We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. Boilermakers and the Northwestern Wildcats. We're going to talk a little bit about the Cats maybe in the next segment or two. But, we're 48 hours as we sit here away from that, Katie, and you still got kids that are sick. I mean, how many do you think we might have healthy for Wednesday, if you had to guess?
I hope 9. It's hard to say. Kenna was at practice today, mask on, away from everybody, still had a fever. So she was able to see and, just have eyes on what we were trying to do. Obviously, we didn't do a whole lot. A lot of travel issues yesterday with the plane. Thankfully, I didn't have to watch that game last night. You can give me something for it. It's okay. It was a rough day. It was a rough day.
Having been on the wrong end of 4 straight Super Bowls, I know exactly the feeling. And you got there.
This felt like Super Bowl 55 all
You
over
had the
again.
feeling, though, honestly, that the Chiefs kind of had spent themselves. You watched that game yesterday. It just didn't seem like there was anything left in the tank.
Honestly, after we beat,
That's all right.
Buffalo
That's all right.
in the AFC Championship game, at that moment, like looking back, it felt like that was our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We got to the Super Bowl, for the first time, and just imagine the emotional. You think about what the men's team is doing right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
To go for a three-peat, how emotionally draining that is every single day to get everybody's toughest test, right?
Yeah.
And to lose players to graduation, to the NBA, to free agency, and to still be in a position to win another one. Hats off to Matt and those guys, because just incredible what they're doing.
Well, and sometimes success is it's always hard to repeat. But I look at you look at Major League Baseball teams, for instance, like the team like the Dodgers or the Yankees that are going to be in the playoffs every year, and they're playing 10, 15, 20 high-pressure games. That's one less month of recovery, and it's also the mental strain. And you wonder every year, how do those guys get back up in time for spring training?
Well, there's a reason why there's not been an NFL team three-peat, right? Like just the emotional drain mentally and physically on your body. But it was a great run, and I don't think it's over as long as 15's under center. I feel pretty good, and with Andy Reid on the sideline, feel pretty good about that. But like I said, just hats off to what Matt's doing with those guys, because I hope Purdue fans don't take it for granted, because it's extremely special what's happening on the men's side right now.
You talked about the box and one that you played. You've played some man defense. You've played some zone defense this year. How do you feel like you've been making that transition, and what do you think about your zone defense?
It depends on our personnel. When we've got some smart kids in there, that just understand and talk, our best talkers, right? Like you've got to have, and I think Sophie is finally, learning how to use her voice on the defensive end when we do go into zone, because you've got to be able to talk and kind of fly around and understand, and sometimes when we are in zone, we've got a young team out there. It just doesn't look very good, and I say smart, but experienced players, right? Like that's poor choice of words there.
Experience.
You
either been there or you haven't.
Yeah.
And especially coming from high school, there are a lot of teams that do nothing but play 2-3 zone.
No doubt.
In high school, and the kids have no concept of defensive principles when they get here.
And so honestly, I thought, I go back to our Wisconsin game, thought we were going to play a little bit more zone, and we end up playing a lot more man than what I had originally thought, prepping for the game. And the flow of the game, I thought our man-to-man in the second half was okay. I thought we made them make some long jumpers off the bounce, and sometimes you just got to pat them on the butt and tell them good shot when they're making 19-foot pull-up jumpers, and give JoJo and Maya credit, because they actually did that in the second half.
Well, one of the problems you had yesterday not only was illness, but you mentioned you got into foul trouble. Both Lana and Kendall Puryear picked up 2 fouls early in the game. You had a feeling at halftime, I thought if you could get the ball back into Kendall and get her going in the offense, and she scored 12 points for you in the second half.
Yeah, she's just been so good, so consistent. Just didn't really have an opportunity to throw her the ball in the first half, and we talked about it, we were just talking about it off air. It's the, save the silly ones, right? Like she's such a competitor, and when there's off the ball stuff, it's always the second guy that gets caught. And I thought Cornwell kind of baited her into one of those fouls that she picked up. But she's going to learn from all that. But 22 is somebody that we know, and everybody feels confident that we can throw her the ball on the block, and we're going to get a good high quality shot.
The other thing, we talked about this with her last week. It seems like the game is slowing down, not just in terms of you look at her and she's not trying to do everything at 100 miles an hour. But you can feel like maybe mentally the game is starting to slow down for her.
No doubt. And it's, a lot of extra reps with her in the gym, a lot of film watching, someone who wants to be great. And it's something I've said all along, from day one. Her and Lana both, they want to be great. So they want to be coached. They want to do all the extra stuff. And, it's just, it has slowed down for KP a little bit faster than Lana. I thought Lana played a pretty solid game at Rutgers. But KP is just someone she's just got it, like that competitiveness, that the dog in her, and she's someone who's going to be a force to reckon with. Someone like Trey, in a sense that maybe a little undersized at the post, but once the game slowed down for him, and they're playing through that guy, pretty special.
You mentioned Lana. I had a feeling she might get off to a pretty good start. She had some friends and family who made, I think, like a 7-hour drive down from New Hampshire, down in New Jersey. That they don't get a chance to see her play in person very much.
No, really, really cool to see her. Her mom and dad had traveled to, they've been here to watch her play, but to see a little bit more people in the stands for her, little sis saw her play and live. Lana's getting better, and she wants to be great. She came in my office on Friday, and we talked, and she's like, I'm a good basketball. I'm like, you're a great basketball player. Believe it every single second. Give yourself some grace. You know, and everybody's path is different. So don't compare yourself to KP, or don't compare yourself to, you know, to anybody else. Your path is you know, you're on the path that you're meant to be on, and trust the process. I can imagine that number 35 is going to have a special career here.
All right, we're at walk-ons. We'll have more with Coach Geralds after this. It's Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Who's going to have to be ready to guard their yard one-on-one?
Smith saw that coming. Yates trying to get back. Braden Smith, the extra step, and scores.
Braden Smith, 2.6 steals per game, leads the Big Ten. And look at the deceleration, slow Euro step. Just so pretty when you're not tall.
Tipped around into the hands of Smith. Feeds Lawyer on the move. Pretty pass. And a deuce for number 2.
Braden Smith's a good defensive rebounder, and he can rake it and take it and push it himself. And Lawyer running the floor, excellent pass through traffic, running off handoffs, staggered screens.
Here's Smith. Yates trying to get back, and now the late lead for Jakari Harris.
As this game progresses, how Purdue wants to handle these ball screens from Purdue.
Colvin. Oh, and that one rattled home.
Well, Braden Smith doing a nice job. He can make all the passes, leaves his feet.
Thomas with a tip into the hands of Kaufman-Renn. That shot was falling for Slacker on Tuesday. Throwing it up, and Colvin out of nowhere, flying high and throwing it down. Kaufman-Renn.
Well, this is an area I think Braden Smith has improved. Transition lob passer, it's whether it's Heidi or these different Boilermakers getting out and running. He sees that. He's got great touch. Talk about showtime in the open floor.
Shot clock down to 4. Harris, great pass. Wow.
You said it. That's an amazing pass, especially the poise late.
Welcome back to Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO. We're live at walk-ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. The 2024-25 Purdue basketball season is presented by Purdue Global. Earn a degree you'll be proud of with Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults and the preferred online university degree provider of the Guild and Team USA Learning Network. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu. It was announced last week that you're playing in another nice location next Thanksgiving, going back down to Cancun to play in a tournament there. We've talked a little bit, I think, in past shows about scheduling and the fact that because the Big Ten is what the Big Ten is now, it may change scheduling going forward. What's your current thought on how you'd like to put those schedules together?
Oh, not this one. Not this year's.
You mean you don't like playing the number 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9 teams in the country?
I haven't loved it. The competitor in me, actually, you know, like if you got to figure it out, right? You know, but that's just not where we are.
Yeah.
So let's be realistic, and you know, it's. We can't avoid UCLA, we can't avoid USC, Maryland, Ohio State. We're not going to be able to avoid those teams. So, you know, you've got to find a way. If you want to get in the tournament, you've got to find a way to beat some of those teams. And in the non-conference, you know, I think there's, you know, you've got to look at where your team is, and you know, in terms of net, try to find a comparable non-conference. You know, maybe you play some teams below you, some comparable, and then you've got to challenge yourself a little bit if you want to have an opportunity for postseason. But you know, you go to those tournaments, and sometimes you don't have a say of who you play, but you work out contracts, and you know, you try to get a range in the net of, you know, teams that are in the tournament, and try to they do a pretty solid job. This year, not so much, you know, with us facing South Carolina, not so much this year, but I think we worked pretty diligently in the contract while we, you know, for the Cancun trip. So hopefully it's kind of a level playing field, I guess.
You know, it's got to be difficult to schedule these because, and especially in the last few years, with the portal being what the portal is, the basketball team you have today on February 10th is not going to be the same team. Obviously, you're going to have in September, and you don't know what you're going to be able to get out of the portal at this point.
For sure, you don't know, and then you don't know what everybody else is going to get. You know, point in case with Kentucky, we signed the contract with Kentucky. You know, with the previous coach, she leaves. Kenny comes in, brings a whole nother roster with him, and so you just never know. But you know, you've got to trust and build that you're doing it the right way, and for your team, right? Like we need to schedule. Obviously, we're going to schedule differently than what UCLA and USC are doing right now. Like that's just it needs to be that way. We didn't do that this year, and we've got to do a better job of it next year.
You know, I wonder going forward, there's been a lot of discussion about the West Coast teams and the success they're going to be able to have in the Big Ten. Now, certainly this year, UCLA and USC are making an exception because they have tremendously talented basketball teams. But we talk about we have to go out and make a West Coast trip now every year. Next year, it'll be UCLA and USC. Those teams have to make 3 East Coast trips each at a week.
Yeah. And they're here for a week.
And they're here for a week. And it's you know, at some point, that's got to be a grind.
Yeah, you would think so. And
still trying to go to class in theory, right?
Yeah, you're supposed to be, right?
Still, right?
It's supposed to be. Yeah, I know how long the trip was for us, just for 1 week. And to imagine having to do it multiple times in a year, you know, I think USC and UCLA are just heads – they don't live on Earth. Like they're just from another planet almost. And you know, I think you know, hopefully you know, it all balances out and we find a way to catch up with those guys. But you know, I just can't imagine the travel that all 4 of those teams have to face year in and year out.
Yeah, just to show that chasm, USC and UCLA are going to be playing for the top spot in the conference later this week. Now, Ohio State's in 3rd place. USC beat Ohio State over the weekend and out-rebounded them by 32. Okay, think about that. Ohio State being out-rebounded by 32 in one game.
Yeah, it was a wild game to watch. You know, Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Yeah. And you know, Juju didn't even have a good
most of those rebounds were her misses.
Right. You know, she didn't have a great shooting night, and still was able to come away with a pretty solid win against a you know, very, very good Ohio State team.
I know you're focused on your team, but there's going to be a wild stretch, I think, a stretch run down here. USC and UCLA will play twice. I'm just thinking about having to fill out that all Big Ten ballot. I know it for the football ballot, it took me 3 hours to fill it out this year because you're looking at 18 teams. I can't tell you right off the top of my head who the top 5 offensive guards in the Big Ten were and in football, let alone basketball.
Let alone, and yeah, I just remember my preseason, you know, only going to 10. I was like, I mean, I think I had 3 from UCLA and 3 from USC, and I was like, well, what about Ohio State and Maryland?
Right.
And all these other kids.
Can we get a drip or 2 coming down this way?
You know, like what? It'll be interesting how that all shakes out. The stretch here with USC and UCLA playing twice.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen with Ohio State? It's going to be interesting.
It will be interesting. All right, we're going to talk about this week's opponents when we come back. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Braden Smith has 2 to shoot. Drills a 3.
Talk about a momentum snatcher.
Woo. Times in January here at home, he went for 20 or more points in the second half alone. That was his 4th three-pointer. Braden Smith, good dish to Kaufman-Renn, and he gets started right away.
Great job by Braden Smith. Yeah, when he recognized that his team needs some offensive support.
Without Kaufman-Renn, he really took over the scoring responsibilities in that second half. Batted away by First, goes to the ground. What a play by the senior. Smith, crossover to 2.
They've got to figure out some stops on this end.
A double team that time. Skip pass, Cox. He's got 3. Sanford quickly fires. And a rebound to Smith. Feels like a long time ago. Purdue was 2 for 13 shooting threes against Indiana over the weekend. There's another, and another make. 3rd consecutive game, he's got 24 points. 3 to shoot. Cox Oh, off the glass.
It might be that night for Purdue.
Harding around the back, and a steal from the man who leads the Big Ten in that category. Smith sprinting the other way.
It's about his time, though. Last 5 minutes.
Kaufman-Renn spins to the baseline, finds first for the jam.
Trey Kaufman-Renn, beautiful spin and feed.
Two have earned praise for how they play defense here. Both in the game right now. Braden Smith, Kaufman-Renn, and one.
Well, coaching sometimes is just get the ball in the hands of your two best players.
Boilermakers with 2 games this week, taking on the Northwestern Wildcats on Wednesday. That'll be a 7 o'clock tip at Mackey Arena. Then Purdue down to Indiana for the first of 2 meetings against the Hoosiers. Noon tip-off on Saturday. We're going to have more with Coach Geralds in just a few seconds, but first we need to pause for station identification. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network, and this is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Three, two, one.
It's time for the Pro Boilers feature, where we look at how former Purdue student athletes are doing in their professional sports careers. Pro Boilers is presented by Indiana Kitchen Premium Pork Products. Get to know us at indianakitchen.com. We've talked a little bit about the KG, about Janae Terry this year, and I just looked at her numbers again today. Playing in Kosovo. Now, they've played 13 games this year. Her team is 7-6. She's averaging 20.2 points, 13.9 rebounds, 8.3 assists, and 3.8 steals a game. She's had 3 triple-doubles this year. Here's the kicker. She had a game earlier this year, 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 10 assists, and they lost. They lost the game. Now, she actually had a quadruple-double because she also had 10 turnovers in that game. But a 40-point effort, we couldn't get Janae Terry to shoot 40 times in a month.
No. No. It's funny. Today I was watching our Big Ten tournament game from last season against Northwestern, and I think 16, 18 rebounds or whatever it was, and 6 points.
6 points.
It's like
and
typical,
maybe probably on putbacks.
Yeah, like just like a very typical Janae Terry. To see her scoring a basketball, awfully proud of number 10.
And Abby Ellis is having a good year right now with the Townsville Fire in Australia. Her team is 14-5, and they're on a 7-game winning streak. She had 14 points and 4 rebounds in their last game. She's averaging just under 10 points and shooting 82% from the foul line. So congratulations to those two. We'll keep you updated on all the progress of our Pro Boilers as the season goes on. All right, 2 games this week. The Northwestern Wildcats, who, by the way, did not make a trip out to California earlier this year. They were supposed to play at UCLA and USC. It was during the wildfires. They elected not to go at the same time that Penn State did go out to play on the West Coast. The Big Ten still has yet to make any announcement or decision about what they're going to do, but it could have an effect basically on which teams make the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. It's like a 4-hour flight, 5-hour flight. Like, how do you make that game up this time of the year? And
2 of them. You got 2 of them to make up.
Man, I hope it doesn't come down to tiebreakers with us.
Yeah. Well, we need to let the Wildcats know that we're expecting snow here on Wednesday, so maybe they need to get here a little bit earlier than normal.
We are.
Just to make sure. You know, you look at players, though. Kaylee Walsh seems like she's been there about 12 years. Melanie Daly seems like she's been there for a decade.
Yeah,
They're 2 pretty good basketball players.
No doubt. And they're first and second leading scorers there. I honestly, going through the scout today with the team, I was like, God, what year are these? Are they 7th years? You know, Walsh has been there for a while and, you know, had a really, really good game against us in the Big Ten tournament. We were fortunate to get out of that one. And, you know, number 21 just gets it going in the mid-range. Yeah. So have our hands full on both sides of the floor with those guys. But, you know, they've been playing well. They just haven't been able to finish games. And finally we're able to get one done against Penn State
Scored
yesterday.
80 points against Iowa. We know they can put points on the board.
You know, they had a 14 or 15-point lead against Minnesota that just couldn't figure it out. A close game at home against Indiana. You know, Illinois goes in there and rolls them, but they've been close, and then, you know, they finally were able to get one yesterday.
And the one thing you know about Joe McEwen, you're going to see just about every defense known to mankind, and he's going to throw everything at you.
No doubt, from a straight 2-3 to a man-to-man, a switching man-to-man, or you know, hedge ball screens, a matchup zone. We're going to see it all. You know, someone who likes to keep you off balance, not allow you to find any rhythm on the offensive end. And then someone himself, they run a lot of different actions. They put you in binds with Walsh because she can pick and pop trail threes. She's been a little bit more on the block. Taylor Williams can kind of own the block to herself down there. And then they've got some kids on the outside that are shooting the ball and play with confidence.
Then down to Indiana on Saturday to take on the Hoosiers in the first of two. Indiana lost yesterday at Minnesota by 10. They got out-rebounded by 17. I know Terry Morin will try to have them back on the beam. And, you know, they've lost some great players, Grace Berger and Mackenzie Holmes, but they've still got a lot of talent down there. And Chloe Moore-McNeil's a terrific point guard.
Yeah, she just does everything. You know, a fifth year that kind of just does everything and runs the show. You know, two bigs inside that they're, you know, obviously not Mackenzie Holmes, but they've done their job. And Garzone can get it going from the outside. You know, Shesky can get it going. But they hit 10 threes against Rutgers in the third quarter alone.
In the third quarter.
In the third quarter alone, 16 for the game. You know, and it's one of those days that you just don't, you hope that they're not finding the bottom of the net, because if they catch fire, they're pretty elite.
You know they're going to have a big crowd. I'm expecting a 5-digit crowd there, probably 10,000 plus to see, and it's been a great atmosphere the last few years. You wonder, a noon tip-off a little bit earlier than usual, so you got to get them out of bed and going that morning.
Yeah, a little different morning for us. 6 a.m. shoot around won't be for us, so we'll get them up and get them stretching going in the hotel. The IU men team play was Friday night.
Friday night, yeah.
So we're not going to be able to get on Assembly Hall at all. So we'll try to get over the gym over there a little bit earlier to get some shots up and you know, have our kids get ready to go as best we can. You know, we played early against South Carolina. We played early. You know, 1 o'clock's an earlier start. You know, ball gets tipped up, you got to be ready to go. Well,
I'll tell you, KG, looking at the comments done on Facebook, people telling you to hang in there. It's been a tough season, been a tough stretch, but still 3 weeks to go. And the fact that your kids, a lot of them making a lot of efforts to get on the floor and help their teammates has got to keep you encouraged.
Oh, yeah, I can't be more proud of our group. Obviously, we've been hit with some stuff, and you walk into practice every day. There's no way you think that you look at our record. You know, our kids work. They're bought in, you know, and we're still trying to figure this out and find a way to get to some postseason play.
All right, keep the surgical mask happy, keep healthy, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.
Right, thanks, Tim.
Amie Anthrop will join us next. This is Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
For the Scarlet Knights, and they've hit a couple of big threes.
And Rutgers with the ball out of the timeout, but throws it away, and Rashunda Jones can turn it into 3 points. That's a big momentum flip.
Money can stroke it from deep sometimes, and right there, got a good look. Love the confidence from her to shoot that and hit it.
Rutgers' first points to the second quarter. Jones, great feed underneath to McCarthy. Having a nice spell as well. You mentioned the big performance she had at Michigan. Good few weeks to be JoJo Lacey. And a good time to be Rashunda Jones, too. She gets the bounce plus the foul. Lombard off the pump fake. Here's Bass again on the glass, plus the foul.
Really seeing this game as an opportunity, and really this whole final stretch. Play Northwestern, play Penn State, play some other teams on the outside looking in, but Purdue not going away with Sophia Swanson. That's a smooth turnaround, Jay. Second to UCLA in the conference in that category.
Thrown away, and Swanson's getting hot. Could have been a charge or a block, truly. And now Lacey has it poked away. Lombard ahead of the pack. Back inside, there's Jones slashing to the rim.
Poor mistake there, and now the defense has to lock it down.
Puryear against Adams, no call. And Puryear will give to Jones. Collier, her first points today.
And whenever Rutgers needs a bucket, when Purdue pulls closer, Lacey has given it to him.
Collier red hot. Back-to-back threes for the senior. Now, Purdue has shown a lot of fight in this game.
Cornwell's going right to the locker room.
Another turnover. Swanson, 2-on-1. Lays it in.
3 steals for the Scarlet Knights, and they've hit a couple of big threes.
Now Rutgers with the ball out of the timeout, but throws it away.
Welcome back to Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO. We're live at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. Purdue Athletics would like to thank and recognize members of the Black and Gold Club who support Purdue Athletics with their sponsorship at the highest level. Black and Gold Club members include Indiana Packers, Molson Coors, Purdue Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, Riley Children's Health, State Farm Insurance, Toyota, and Wabash. Each are great partners of Purdue Athletics. We try to get behind the scenes on these shows and bring you people that you don't ordinarily hear from, and this is one of them, Amie Anthrop, who is the Director of Operations. And Amie had a much busier weekend and a much busier day yesterday than you were hoping for. We're going to get into the travel problems and travel issues that have come up this season in a couple of minutes. But first, for people who don't know you, former high school coach, you were an outstanding player at Southern Indiana, a Clinton Prairie product here from nearby Clinton County. And you've been a coach and you've been a player at the high school and college level. What got you into sports in the first place?
Honestly, both my older brothers played sports, and so I wanted to do everything that they were doing. When I was a kid, my mom just wanted me to be in ballet, and I quickly realized that that avenue was not best for me. So whatever my two oldest brothers were doing, I just wanted to be right there with them. And so it was shooting baskets, it was playing football, it was whatever they were doing, I was always out there with them.
A lot of times the youngest one, or at least one of the younger ones, turns out to be the best athlete. Was that the case in your family, would you say? Or would that be disputed at the family reunions?
I would hope nobody in my family would be listening, but I would have to say that...
You've got the microphone. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that I probably did turn out to be the better athlete in my family. My middle brother, he was a very good wrestler, but I knew basketball was kind of my route from day one, and so was fortunate enough to be able to play in college and then have kind of the career that I've had so far around the sport. And even today, like, I guess I never realized when I was young that basketball was going to take me to all these different avenues that I've been on, and so it's just been a blessing every single day, and I've just been incredibly fortunate to be able to be where I am today and literally enjoy every single day that I go to work.
You were a high school coach and a teacher, and then you made the transition to go into athletics administration at the collegiate level. Why did that decision come about, or when did it come about?
Yeah, it was actually kind of bad timing. We were just getting ready to start our high school season, and that's when I made the transition over to the softball team. And it was one of those things where I had tried for several years to get hired on at Purdue in the athletics department, and it was kind of perfect timing. So it was hard to step away from my team at that time just because we had just started practicing. Games were about to start, but I honestly felt like I had a bigger calling to step into collegiate athletics and step away from the high school level. And so it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up at that time. And again, incredibly blessed and fortunate to that was 4 years ago, to be where I am today.
You were a director of operations for softball before you came over to the basketball program. One thing those programs have both had in common, though, they've had rainouts. Now, in baseball or softball, you kind of understand that, but we went through our first rainout ever last year at Maryland.
Yeah,
basketball.
I joked about it because I was like, here I am thinking I transitioned from softball to basketball, that this is never going to happen. And then we go to Maryland last year, and the ceiling is leaking right onto the court. And yeah, I joked about it because I was like, I thought I was done with rain delays, but here we are. We didn't get to play the game. We ended up having to go back to Maryland a week later, and yeah, that was a fun one.
And to show, I mean, we had gone through the introduction of the starting laps. We're literally ready to start the game, and somebody realized, hey, and they saw it actually a few minutes before. They thought they had it fixed, and then they didn't have it fixed.
Yeah, I remember their operations director came up to me and was like, hey, the ceiling is leaking. And I'm like, okay, what's the plan? Like, what are we going to do? And because it was right on the court. And so immediately I was like, what's the plan here? Like, our team had already gone into the locker room. Right. Again, we're getting very close to tip, like 5 minutes until tip time. And they ended up having to bring, I think, a specialist out, saw the roof of the arena was not going to be fixed. They wanted us to go play in their auxiliary gym. Katie and I walked down there, that was not going to be the best outcome for us. And so we decided that it was best for us to go home. And then we, again, came back that next weekend.
Well, and that brings up, we're going to get into some of the travel issues and some of the things that you do. But I think the one thing that you learn in this job pretty quickly, you have to be prepared to expect the unexpected, because you never know what's going to happen next.
Right. You've got to have kind of a plan B, C, D, whatever it takes, kind of just in the back of your mind, because a lot of the times plans go exactly how they're supposed to. Everything works out accordingly, but then there are times where there are complications, and if you're not prepared, then it can kind of set the whole team back. And I mean, we travel with 30 people, so just having kind of those extra plans in place and making sure everybody feels comfortable and is communicated with, and just trying to make sure that we're making the best decisions for our entire travel party.
I mentioned last year was a first for me, having a rain out in a basketball game. This year was a first. I've never sat on an airplane for 4 hours and then not be able to leave. Sometimes you sit in the terminal and you have that issue, but never on the plane for that long. That was a long night.
Yeah, I think logistically with our West Coast trip, everything that could have gone wrong transportation-wise with airplanes and bus did. And again, like, you've got to have plans in place. Thankfully, Coach Katie is one of them that understands there are things that are just out of our control. And so having a coach, though, that really understands that and is just like, okay, we'll do whatever we need to. It makes the world of a difference. But, yeah, we sat on that plane for a very long time. Finally, I mean, we got pizza ordered to the plane. Our flight attendants are walking into the Purdue airport, grabbing the pizza for us, brought it back out, and then it was finally like, yeah, we're not getting out. Yeah. We're not getting out tonight. And then even that next day, there were a few complications because we woke up to snow.
And the men trying to get out at the same time.
Yeah, so our thought all along was, let's get out before the men do. And then we couldn't. They had plans to fly out before us, and then the snow kind of pushed everything back. So even in that first 12 hours, we had multiple delays. Yeah. So.
Well, the one thing, though, and I will say that you're a beacon of calmness in a sea of storms sometimes, and I think that's one of the things that a director of operations and the head coach can do. You set the tone. If you're kind of running around tearing your hair out, everybody will kind of be on edge. So just the calmer you stay, typically the calmer other people will stay. Yeah. Not all the time, but for sure. Most of the time.
The Coach Boo with the softball program, one of the things that she told me when I first got hired was, you've got to be a duck. And she obviously elaborated on it. But when you think about a duck kind of on a pond, what you see outwardly is this duck kind of just gliding along the pond. You don't see what's underneath, which are the feet of the duck kind of going very rapidly. And so I think it is very important for an operations director to have a sense of calmness. There might be 5,000 things going on in my head, but I try to communicate what we need to communicate. But otherwise, it's kind of just stay steady, stay calm, and just try to do what's best for our team, what's best for our program, what's best for our coaches.
And like a water, you got to let that water, like a duck, you got to let that water roll off your back sometimes too.
Yep.
That's right. All right, we're talking with Amie Anthrop. We'll have more with her after this. It's Purdue Basketball Live, presented by GEMCO on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
As hard as you can with the same amount of joy and passion we had the other day, all right? These people are going to watch you. Put on the show, enjoy every single second of it, all right? Let's go.
McCarthy with doing there. Sophie Swanson drilling a 50-footer from the left side. Swanson, and here come the Boilermakers into the front court. Purdue with a 5-point lead. Swanson, quick three. Yes! Sophie in transition with the triple.
We've got to have a little bit more composure about what we're doing. Get the ball moving from side to side, and then you get open shots. You got to be there for each other. Come on.
Here we go, Wyatt. First 5 minutes.
Here we go. 20 minutes. Go get it.
Back to Ella Collier for three. Got it! Courier still with the dribble. Courier jump hook on the way. Got it!
Courier is not intimidated by Sarah Williams.
Pass in the post against McRae. Pass goes up with a left-hand runner and scores. Misses the layup attempt. Rashonda Jones with the rebound. Purdue's got to try to run it here. Jones down the middle, almost lost the dribble. Right side, Collier for three. Got it! Ella Collier with the big triple.
That's why she was brought here.
Collier open three up. Yes!
Oh,
Ella Collier with the triple. Here's Collier driving. Nice pocket pass to Courier, and she made the layup. And one.
What a great pass by Collier.
And that will do it. And the Purdue Boilermakers have snapped the 9-game losing streak, and they beat the Wisconsin Badgers 84-71.
We talk about it, right? Just staying through it, right? Looking adversity in the eye, staring straight at it, not running away from it, not hiding from it, but running right towards it. And you've earned it, right? Like you played well on Thursday. You played well today. You stayed connected. You stayed together. When they cut it to 1, and you were right there with it the whole time. Enjoy it. You've earned it. Enjoy it. You've earned it. I'm proud of you.
Good job, Wyatt. Good job, Wyatt. We're going to sit together, y'all.
Family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Family.
Play as hard as you can with the same amount of joy and passion we had the other day.
Lafayette Limo, family-owned, women-owned, serving Greater Lafayette for over 38 years. Shuttles to and from Indianapolis and O'Hare airports 365 days a year. Make your reservations now at LafayetteLimo.com. Lafayette Limo, proud sponsor of Purdue Athletics. And GEMCO Constructors is supporting your Boilermakers as the presenting sponsor of Purdue Basketball Live and proud partner of Purdue Athletics. GEMCO Constructors, boiler up. Talking with Amie Anthrop. She is the Director of Operations for women's basketball. You've got your own operations at home, and you got your 3 kids here tonight. That has to be, I know that's a full-time job in addition to your full-time job.
It is for sure. Thankfully, my husband Jade, who's also here, is quite the saint. So he, during season, kind of keeps our whole calendar in line and gets the kids to and from school and all their activities. So, yeah, glad to have them here today. I haven't seen them really since Saturday, so I'm glad they were able to come.
Nice to have them here. We talked a little bit about travel. You're also in charge of making sure that food is there, and last night was an example. We get stuck because our plane's late for 3 hours, so you went in and got a whole bunch of pizzas and wings because it was the Super Bowl, right? So you got to have pizza and wings for the Super Bowl.
Have to.
How much in advance, in terms of the hotel reservations, the food reservations, how far in advance can you and do you have to work?
Yeah, with the hotel, we usually get our hotels a couple months before we go, and then I've got a huge to-do list that I go through every single trip that we go on. So with the hotel, it's getting them our itinerary, it's getting them our rooming list, our food at the hotel. All of that I try to do at least 2 weeks in advance before our trip so that they have it and their catering team is ready for that for us. Food at restaurants, it's about a week in advance, but it's reaching out, it's getting our orders, it's then sending it in, making sure they're good with their delivery locations, and just kind of a lot of logistics around the food.
I know logistics is a big part of what you do, but it's not all that you do, and especially game day. I see you with a lot of stuff in your lap. What are you doing game day or during the game that helps Katie out?
So I keep track of a chart. On that chart, it has all of our team fouls as well as our individual fouls. It also keeps track of the other team's fouls individually, and then as a team. With the women's game, you get 5 fouls every quarter. Once you reach that 5th foul, then you shoot double bonus. Mm-hmm. So we try to be really strategic if we have some fouls to give at the end of the quarter. Right. So Katie will turn around and be like, do we have any fouls to give? And so that's probably the main thing that I keep track of. I keep track of our timeouts and the other team's timeouts as well as media timeouts. So that's my great chart that I have. How
much does being a former player and coach help you in your role? Not only there, but we see you, helping during practices. How much has that aided you in this job?
Oh, for sure. Again, basketball has been such an important part of my life since I was 4 years old. So it's definitely been a game that has brought me many blessings. And I loved working with the Purdue softball team, but I never played softball. So being able to work with women's basketball has just been such a blessing because I love the sport. I'm able to go and talk to our other coaches, just some things that I see with the other teams, some things that I see in practice, and just kind of having that open door of communication with our entire staff. And again, it's just, I love the game so much, so it's so awesome. I never thought in a million years that I would be where I'm at right now, but again, it's just such a blessing to be able to work with Katie, to work with this program, and honestly, I'm a little biased. I've been a Purdue fan my whole life, but to be able to work with Purdue Athletics.
Well, I will say this on behalf of everybody at the travel party. Thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for keeping us fed. and for the most part on time, and we look forward to a nice, calm rest of the season.
Yes, for sure.
All right, Amie Anthrop, thanks for joining us. Final segment of Purdue Basketball Live presented by GEMCO coming up on the Purdue Global Sports Network. This is Boilermaker Basketball from Learfield.
Who's going to have to be ready to guard their yard one-on-one?
Smith saw that coming. Yates trying to get back. Braden Smith, the extra step, and scores.
Braden Smith, 2.6 steals per game, leads the Big Ten. And look at the deceleration, slow Euro step. Just so pretty. When you're not tall.
Tipped around into the hands of Smith. Feeds Lawyer on the move. Pretty pass. And a deuce for number 2.
Braden Smith's a good defensive rebounder, and he can rake it and take it and push it himself. And Lawyer running the floor. Excellent pass through traffic. Running off handoffs, staggered screens.
There's Smith. Yates trying to get back, and now the late lead for Jakari Harris.
As this game progresses, how Purdue wants to handle these ball screens from Purdue.
Colvin. Oh, and that one rattled home.
Well, Braden Smith doing a nice job. He can make all the passes, leaves his feet.
Thomas with a tip into the hands of Kaufman-Wren. That shot was falling for Slackern on Tuesday. Throwing it up, and Colvin out of nowhere, flying high and throwing it down. Kaufman-Wren.
Well, this is an area I think Braden Smith has improved. Transition lob passer, is whether it's Heidi or these different Boilermakers getting out and running. He sees that. He's got great touch. Talk about showtime in the open floor.
Shot clock down to 4. Harris, great pass. Wow.
You said it. That's an amazing pass, especially the poise late in the clock to not force up.
Purdue Basketball is brought to you in part by Purdue Federal Credit Union, the official credit union for Purdue fans. We're at Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union, where there's validated parking and kids eat for free on Tuesdays. Want to thank our engineer, George Bose, our producer, Hunter Stunkel. Video today by McCarty Cummings. Boilermaker men taking on the Michigan Wolverines tomorrow night at Chrysler Center. Tip-off will be at 7. We'll have that broadcast starting at 6. And the women's team will be home on Wednesday night to take on the Northwestern Wildcats. That one will be at 7 o'clock. For Katie Geralds and Amie Anthrop, good night, everybody, from Walk-Ons in the Purdue Memorial Union.